listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
As a parent, your life is your child.
With Luke, he's the whole world, you know?
He was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and it just rips your heart out. You feel completely helpless.
But when you come to St. Jude, that is a whole nother level of care.
You have cutting-edge scientific research here, doctors at the top of their game, and there's nothing but love in everything that they do.
I asked my wife, I was like, what is this going to cost us? And then we did a little bit of research, and then we realized that no family ever receives a bill.
St. Jude covers the cost of everything so that we could focus on our family. St. Jude gave our family the chance to be together. They saved our son's life, and we did not pay a cent. And that wouldn't have been possible without St. Jude.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and good morning, listeners. 331-9255 is our call-in number. You are listening to Kingston Community Radio's Wednesday morning show. We're broadcasting live right here from our studios at 16 Lucas Avenue. And again, we'd love to hear from you, 331-9255. So you and I were just talking off air with the preseason. And, of course, the football season right around the corner.
Did you go Saturday night, or did you give your tickets away? Or
Yeah, I ended up selling them. I
ended up eating them. They tried to give them away on the radio, but I did have some other season ticket holder friends that went, and they brought in, and they got down there late. Obviously, it was a 7:30 game, so they left Kingston at like 5:30 and went down. But they brought subs from Terry's in the game. And they brought a clear plastic bag, like their bag that they get their Freeman in. In that, had a plastic flask in their pocket that they got in, and they had a thermos, like a regular, a tall thermos that you would put coffee in. They had that filled with, I don't know if I should be repeating this, rum and Coke and all kinds of stuff there. Like, they didn't have to buy any food, they didn't have to buy any booze. They left at halftime, but they wanted to go down and check it out. They weren't asking for COVID cards. It was the normal go in. They there was a big sign that said if you are not vaccinated, you must have a mask on at all times. They did say, though, when they left their seat, you can keep your mask off at your seat. When you go to the bathroom and if you happen to stand in line, they'd like you to wear your mask. That's all. So you just really have to put it on to go to the bathroom. And that was it. So that was encouraging. Now,
I think every venue is treating it differently. I was down yesterday afternoon to the Yankee Red Sox game.
Oh, cool!
And
so you went to the first part of the doubleheader.
Yeah.
They won both of them yesterday.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Was that the first time? So you got to go to the first game this year that the Yankees actually beat the Red Sox, right?
Yes.
Or they beat them the day before.
No, they played the Angels. They had a makeup game.
That's right. So yesterday was the first. That's good, and they beat them twice. They're starting to climb back in it. They're starting to look good.
Yeah,
they're watchable again. That's for sure.
So anyway, there were no mask requirements. There were a few people that did have masks on.
Was the sign there like the Giants though? If you don't have the vaccine?
No.
I'm actually impressed. If you look at other states in the country, New York, we're almost at what are we at? Like 78% vaccinated. I mean, for the whole state.
Yeah, we're closing.
We have really big numbers of. I mean, you look at Florida, and I love visiting Florida, as you do too. I mean, I don't even think they're at 50% yet. They're not even close.
No.
Now Texas is a little higher. Obviously, there's probably more people in Texas than there is in Florida. But I mean, they have the same electoral votes. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, as all in all, you got to be proud of the people of the state of New York that, we weren't. I mean, as soon as I could get my vaccine, I was getting online and getting I wasn't waiting. I have a few friends that haven't gotten it, but haven't received it. But it's their choice. But I think. At this point, with Delta variants flying around, and
I mean, the writing could never be any clearer on the wall. You look at those states down south where the vaccination percentages, vaccination rates are low. Where's your highest numbers of infections? It's in those.
Florida is actually off the charts this year. Now, do you plan on going? I know last year because of COVID. Do you plan on taking your 6-week trip this year? And when do you guys usually
4 week? Right?
4 weeks. Oh, 4 weeks. Okay.
1 month. Yeah.
Well, you deserve 6, Greg, so you should take 6. But do you go after the holidays, or do you usually wait till February and then go?
February. First week in February,
so you're always gone the
week
whole week
in March. And in January, middle of January, I, for years, have gone to our national conference. It's always in a warm weather city. This year, it's in Savannah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, getting back to yesterday, have you heard of the Clear app? Clear?
No, is that I use the Exler one for the what are you talking about for the COVID thing?
No. Now this
it's called Clear app.
It kind of relates in with COVID. So at Yankee Stadium and a lot of venues, there's entrances if they're marked clear, and what you do is you set up your profile in the app. You scan the front and back of your driver's license, you scan your face, and then there's other things you can also put in there, which I did, like my vaccination card. So the line, waiting to get into the stadium, I couldn't tell you how long that was.
But the Clear line.
But the Clear walked right in.
Oh,
walked right on through.
I hope they have that at Giant Stadium because I'm getting on that one too.
Yeah.
Because you know how when you leave your car late, sometimes you could be online for a minute.
Longer than that even.
Yeah.
So
the Clear app, I got to look into that.
Yeah, and
so how long did that take to set up? 5 minutes, real quick.
Yeah.
And basically, what I have been using, and I used it when you showed it to me months ago, is that New York Excelsior app.
Excelsior.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. So I started using that when I got the vaccine back in April, but now when I fly, they don't even. I mean, when I first got the vaccine, April 12th is when I got it. I flew a couple weeks later. They were asking for my COVID card then. That way I wouldn't have to fill out the New York State Health Travel Guide thing. So I would show it. Now they don't even ask for it anymore. When I flew back in July, they never even asked for it. I flew twice in July. They never asked for it. But yeah, that's good. The Clear app. I'm going to check that out.
It was great. It's almost.
So what did you do? Was your ticket on there too, or you just had to have?
Well, you go through the Clear. And basically, it's almost like going through a metal detector, but they scan you have your phone. They scan the barcode, and all that information that you input it in is there.
And now they have it.
And then you walk in between what looks very similar to a metal detector, and they scan your face. And from there, you just go in, and then
now all you got to do is just make sure you don't throw a hot dog at a fan or a player because they got your picture. I'm kidding.
Right. Now
that's good though. I'm glad they have the Clear app. Did you hear that on the radio, Fred? The Clear app.
I heard you guys. Yeah, I heard you guys talking about that. I wasn't aware of it either, though.
Yeah, no, that sounds like that's the way to go. Because standing online at sporting events, I mean, that could be. I know at Giant games sometimes if you take off from your car at like 12:15, everybody's converging onto the gate. Then you got to go through the metal detector. Well, this is prior to COVID, and I would imagine it's going to be even longer this year. But that's good.
And for our listeners' benefit, if you didn't recognize his voice, Fred Costello, Supervisor of Town of Saugerties, just walked in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
But, and of course, we were walking into the stadium like 1:45, 10:01.
For a 1 o'clock game.
For a 1:05 game, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and just...
So what, the train got in late, or you just...
Oh, no, we had to hit stands. You don't go
did you drive, though, or take the train?
No.
So what, out of Poughkeepsie, you took the train?
Yeah.
So what, now, is that express on the way down? So you only 9 stops, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so you got there pretty quick, but on the way home, or did you stay for the doubleheader, too?
No, because it wasn't a straight doubleheader. It was
oh, that's right. There was like a 3-hour break.
Yeah, it was two separate games.
Yeah, that's right. The Yankees have been playing good. I know I was getting on them a couple months ago or a month and a half ago. I mean, they were playing like poop. Now they're playing. I mean, they're hitting now. I mean, they're playing good. Brett Gardner is like he's been phenomenal since the All-Star break. I mean,
and they're getting some of their regular players back that are coming off the injured reserve list.
Now, how did Cole do on Monday? Did he win on Monday?
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, they won 4 straight. So Cole won Monday when he came back then, right? Garrett Cole?
Yeah, he should have been the winning pitcher.
Yeah,
I believe
they have 4 in a row now, right? I think that's what they've won.
I believe so.
5 with last night.
With last night's, because there was 2 wins last night.
They showed there's like 2 teams. Well, obviously the San Francisco Giants are just tearing it up. I mean, what do they got, like 75 wins already, Fred? I mean, they're just whaling the ball. Their pitching's good. But the Yankees are the next best team in the bigs since the All-Star break. I mean, they've won a bunch of games, so it's good.
This is the time of year when you want to play well.
Right. It doesn't. Yeah. If you stumble out of the gate in May and April, you always got a chance to make it up. But they've seemed to found their way. And look, and with their payroll and all they got some. I never knew how big Aaron Judge was. This guy's like 6'8". He's a big boy. He's gigantic.
Yes, he is.
He's like a basketball player. I'm like, God, he is really tall. I never realized that until he was standing. I was like, wow, he really is that big. And Stanton is pretty big too. They're pretty big guys, but it's good to see them playing well. So
on paper, that team should be contenders for sure, and so should the Mets.
Yeah.
On paper, holy cow, they just can't get it right.
Well, they were on fire prior to the break, and now they've seemed to stumble a little bit. But
yeah, they're sputtering.
They're other now. But now the Phillies and the Braves, there's other teams in their division that are playing good. So, and just like the Yankees, the AL East. I mean, the Red Sox and the Rays are good. I mean, the only team that's really bad in that division is the Orioles. And but we'll see. We still got a couple weeks of August left and all of September.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot could still happen. It's weird to see the Orioles be not very good for so long.
I know. When I was young, with Cal Ripken and Roberto Alomar, I mean, they were always good.
They were always contenders.
Yeah, they were always contenders, and
Brooks
then they've
Robinson,
just been garbage. Yeah.
Mark Belanger. Wow. Now, one thing I was pleasantly surprised. I was very happy to see at stands. You had to show your vaccination either on your phone or your card, or you didn't get in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a New York City mandate.
For what? Wait, for the stands?
What's that?
What would you say for the stands?
No, Stands Sports Bar.
Oh, Stands. Oh, okay, yeah, across the street with the bowling alley. Gotcha. Stands. I just thought, because that's a bar and restaurant. I think that's all of New York City.
Part of a New York City mandate, yeah.
So if you had a picture of it, like sometimes I don't have it, like right now I don't have it in my pocket, but I did take a picture of it, and I have that how do you pronounce it?
Excelsior.
Yeah, Excelsior. Yeah. I have that thing.
That's it. That's all you have to show.
Yeah, that's all you have to show. But now that you're on the Clear app, you don't have to show your card anymore.
No.
At the stadium.
No.
Yeah.
No,
See, that's how TSA.
And what that does is it just gets you through so much quicker. I mean,
you don't have to stand on line with everyone
I bet
else.
it would have taken us 10 minutes or maybe a little more to get in if we had to stand on the regular line.
Right.
Because, I mean,
people are going to catch on to that.
They do the checks. You still have to take and the only thing you have to take out of your pocket, or is not even out of your pocket, I wear it on my belt, is a cell phone. So if you have anything else, you don't.
Now, did the Yankees go paperless this year like the Giants did? Okay. Yeah. I would imagine that's going to be the trend now.
I think the Mets did that as well.
Yeah. I remember when me and Greg first found out, when my mother, because the tickets are in my mother's name, obviously. Greg's also a season ticket holder, and we first talked about it. I'm like, this sucks. I was like, how am I going to sell tickets like on StubHub, do all this? Now that I've started using it, I actually like it better now.
Oh, it's a piece
all the
of- yeah.
tickets are right here on my phone.
Yeah.
If I mean, I don't have any tickets for sale this year, really, except for one game. But if you happen to see somebody on the street, hey, you got some tickets for sale? Yeah, I got them right here.
And you transfer
Write
them.
me a check. I'll send them to you right now. Like, it's that easy. Like, I used to collect ticket stubs. You know, I'm like this new app.
Yeah,
So
I think it's
yeah, and
pretty
now
cool.
when we're ready to go to the game, the only thing is that say the people don't have Giants apps, you send the ticket to their text message. They have to actually download the Ticketmaster app, but which takes 2 seconds.
Right,
and then you get
right.
that in there. But I like it. I mean, I haven't used a paper
When you
ticket
did
on an
the
airplane
City Field,
in like
did you have
2
to
years
use
either.
the MLB app?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
And did you use that yesterday too?
yes,
Okay.
because in both cases where I got the tickets from, they were all four were sent to me, and then that's the other nice thing. All you do is whoever's going with you, you just forward them to their cell
Email
phone.
or text message. Yeah, they
Yeah,
just
just a
ask
text
for their
message.
first name. Once they click on them, I actually get an email that says, so and so has accepted your tickets.
Right.
And like I'm with this one guy for the one game that we go down to. The guy that sits behind me, we make a trade every year. I'm not allowed to pick a September or October game, but I can pick any November or December game. He wants my Eagles tickets. I don't go to Eagles games anymore. There's too many fights. There's a lot of Eagles fans there. They're upset about whatever they're upset about. They're like Red Sox fans. They're a little aggravating. They're all right. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad people, but they're just a little annoying.
They're known for
I
that.
had a friend that got beat up by Eagles fans like 12 years ago. It was at a night game. It was that remember the night the Giants had 12 sacks against Donovan McNabb and OCU Menorah had 6 of them? That was a Sunday night game. We came out of that game. He had a little too much to drink, but we got separated as we came out of the thing going to the car. There was like 8 of us. Him and a group of friends went another way. Me and Cameron and a group of friends went this way. And he never made it back to the car, and we waited around for him until like 1 a.m. Turns out he calls me the next day. I'm in Hackensack General. I got staples in my head. And
Oh my God, he got beat up that bad?
He got beat up really bad. He got jumped by like 6 people, but he probably opened his mouth and probably, he probably did something stupid. But I remember just seeing a lot of fights that night and like Giants fans bleeding in the bathroom, and I'm just like, no more night games. 1 o'clock Sunday games. Get home, still make it to work on time. And so this guy my point is the guy that sits behind me, his wife is from like Ardmore, Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia. She's a huge Eagle fan. He's a huge Giant fan. So she likes to bring her family to the game. So we just swapped the tickets. And when we did, he gave me his 4. He gave me his 4 to the Raiders this year. I gave him my 4 to the Eagles. And it was done usually we had to do overnight mail, give him now the only thing I do have to give him is bring him the parking pass to the Broncos game because he sits behind me. So you do actually have to give the person, because the parking passes, they won't.
That's still paper?
Yeah, no, it won't. Have you tried that yet? Pulling the parking pass up, Greg?
You know what?
The barcode won't show up on the phone for some reason.
Oh, that's weird.
But we have a book of them, and that's what we're going to have to use. But they said next year the parking pass will work, so no problem.
Yeah,
so this year we just got to use paper ones.
Well, all along, from when the pandemic first started, we talked about there would be
permanent change.
Yeah, there would be some silver linings and some new norms, new procedures,
Right.
And certainly, I mean, yesterday's experience. I mean, you can't beat that. Now, of course, as more and more people become aware of it, I only became aware of it a week and a half or so ago.
I hope they do that for the Giants because.
What was your experience at Saratoga? Did they have any restrictions there?
Nope. I went up on the. Oh, sorry, he went after me. I went on the 23rd, and no, they didn't even ask about a mask. There were people wearing them, but not many. They weren't asking as you come in the gate. Opening day, if you went up there and showed your COVID card on July 15th, you got in for free that day. You didn't have to pay the $7 or the $10. It's $7 for general, right? $10 for the grandstand, I think.
I believe
opening
so.
day, they did that for COVID, but there were a lot of people there. Like I was telling, I think Greg last week. That's when I felt more back to normal, being up at Saratoga. Everybody was eating and drinking, and sitting in the lawn with their coolers, and it just seemed like normal to me.
So much fun, and we take it for granted, but it's really.
I think the next time I go, I'm bringing a cooler because I must have spent at least $200 that day. All happily though. I mean, I went with $350, came home with $200. I won on the last 2 races, thank God, or won on the race the 7th and 8th, 9th or whatever. But it was $14 for a Heineken. I didn't drive, so, but they were a pint. But that's they're not even that much. I don't even think they're that much at Yankee games. They're like 12, aren't they? A beer's like $12 at the Yankee game.
I think that's what they were at SPAC though. It was a 20-ounce beer in a can.
It was a pint.
But it was like $14 or $15.
I had a sausage and peppers over by where the band plays on that gazebo, Greg. Like it's near the back entrance. Like kind of like where the grandstand is. They had that sausage and peppers tent there. I don't know if you ate one. It was $17.50 for the sausage and pepper. It was like, I'm telling you, I could almost not finish this thing. It was like this long. It had 2 big sausage links in it, and then tons of peppers and onions. I mean, the thing was huge. I was like, after I ordered it, it's like I don't even know if I can eat that whole thing. I mean, it was gigantic. I did eat it, but
you got it down. Well, it's 17.
I was hungry. Yeah, when you're there for 5 hours, you're just gonna have to, Hey, you go up there for the ambiance and all that. Saratoga's fun. I like being up there. I went there. If I went home with $0, I still would have had a good time. I actually got to go home with a couple hundred. So
you did fun. Okay.
You did real well. For winning that day, so there was no really money to win. But I went up with my friend from La Canard, the bartender there who works there, and we had a good time. He drove, and I left Friday after the show. Mm-hmm. Got up there. I found out where premium parking was. I had no idea you can park. You get off at 13N or whatever the exit is, and then you go down that road, and then you go through like the back part of like Saratoga Springs, and then you park by the back gate. There's a premium lot. It costs $30 to park, but you literally get out of your car, walk across the street, and walk right in. It's in the back though. It's not like where the front gates are. So I was like, I had no idea. But the guy I was with, a little heavy set. He's like, I'm not walking anywhere. He's like, I'm going to walk around in here so much today. He's like, my hip, he's a bartender, so he's always on his feet. Yep. And no, I was psyched. And he paid for parking. I was like, wow, this is great. Usually usually it takes me 10 minutes to walk up to the gate. Away. I like doing what Greg did though. When Riccardi's used to be open, they used to do a bus trip. And you would leave in the morning. They would give you breakfast. You'd eat lunch up there. And then when you get back, they would give you dinner. It costs you $100, but you're in the bus with everybody having fun. You can handicap the horses on the way up. So I used to like those bus trips. Yeah. I know
bus trips are always
the best. Bus trips are fun. We used to when I was really young, like when I was 12 and 13. Sometimes my dad in the winter wouldn't want to drive to the Giant games. He's like, we're going to take the bus from Chicks. So we would drive down into the plaza, and there'd be like 60, 70 people from Kingston, all people that that are, we take the bus too. And Chicks would put it on, and you would bring your own food, and basically it was just the bus trips are fun. A lot of snoring on the way home, though, from the Giant game.
Yeah. But what'd you do for tailgating?
You would what we did is we would just bring down chairs, and we would sit there with subs. He would do it for December games. I remember my uncle brought down a couple of his brother-in-laws. This is right after I was still pretty young. I mean, I was not even 16 yet. Emmett Smith was still on the Cowboys.
Holy cow, you're going back.
So it was a long. It was a long time ago. It was in the. I hadn't graduated high school yet, so it was somewhere in there. Actually, it might even have been younger than that. I don't even think Jimmy Johnson was the coach yet. I think it was still Landry. But anyway, we went down, and it was cheap. And Chicks, actually, when we got back, they had stuff, like we could go into Chicks, and they had like out like a little buffet or whatever. But, everybody had their coolers with them, and, they were all doing, the same stuff we were doing. A lot of drinking that day. Not for me, but yeah, I was young. But no, my father's like, this is the way to go. It is, when you have everybody doing it. But no, you miss the fun of tailgating.
Tailgating is half the fun of the event.
After all season long, I mean, me and Cam like doing it. We're young, but packing up. You got to pack up the car on Saturday. Get all your stuff ready, get all your gear ready. Then you get down there. You got to put it all out, cook for everyone because there's about 10, 11 people at our tailgate. Cook for everyone, clean. Pack it all up, clean it all up, get it back in the car, and then do it all again after the game while you're waiting for the traffic to because to get in the car and just sit and not move. What's the point of that? So,
see now that what I do is. I'm supplying the ticket. I mean, they're buying the ticket.
Right.
They're getting to go to a Giant game. So
you have them do all that.
An individual cooks. Like, for example, the opening day, Scotty Hellsmortal is going to be the chef.
He's going to be the chef, okay. See, now when my father was alive, I did the cooking, Cam did the driving, and then we had one person doing the cleanup. Now that my father has passed away, I try not to do squat. I provide the tickets and don't charge anything. Cam loves to cook, and he also drives his car. Another guy cleans up everything, wipes everything down. One guy takes care of all the booze. So, like, if we were drinking beer that day or whatever, he'll take care of all that. But, you still want to, we have a flag that we put up. We have all, my dad had some tailgating stuff, man. Like, giant cups, forks, and knives, and napkins. And, there's a big, I remember just going through him. He'd have a checklist every year that we would go through. Okay, napkins. And then we'd go up to Sam's Club and go through every aisle and get all this stuff. He's like, we're just going to buy it all for the year. Because we buy a lot of our steaks. We go to Sam's Club. Sam's Club's got good steak. They got good meat, believe it or not. So we'll go there and we'll buy 30 ribeyes. Bring 6 of them down to the game with us, or however many people are going, and then put the rest in the freezer so we don't have to go back every week. But now that I got a little freezer and I can't use my mother's freezer, we just go every other week now. So
I'm always impressed, man. Some of those RVs that have been retrofitted as a tailgate bus are insane.
They're nice, man. Yeah, you can go around and look at them. I tell you, when Campers Barn used to rent the campers, my father had no problem. He's like, I'll put the $500 up. We would get the camper on Saturday afternoon, and we would bring it back. We would bring after the game. We would drop it off on Sunday night after the game, and you would actually get to keep it. 1 day rental, but you would actually get, if you wanted to keep it till Monday morning, you could. And I wish they still did that, man, because we used to get some really, really nice campers where the slides would come out.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about using the bathroom.
Yep.
There's an oven, there's a TV in there. I mean, in the winter games, sometimes it could be windy in that parking lot. In the end of November, beginning of December. I mean, we're getting older now. It's not like we're kids where you're playing football, you're running around. Now it's like, all right, I don't care how much rum you're going to give me, I'm still freezing. So, all right, before we go to break, who do we got on tap today?
We've got Chief Tinti coming in at 7:30. I'll bring somebody along with him. And normally we would have Michelle Hinchy, but Senator Michelle Hinchy, however, something came up and she will not be able to.
Maybe we can get Bob to call in at 8:30.
I could always text him.
Yeah, we could always text him. I was just up there the other day. He's. I told him, I was like, we're in the market for a new car. Because obviously new cars are months away with the chips. So all the help he's been giving us with the Happy Christmas Fund and everything like that, I figured spend the money with friends and family type thing.
Yeah.
So he's like, you're gonna have to wait a couple months. He's like, I got cars coming in because I don't know when they're getting here. Because of the chip shortage or whatever. And people not, he says some of the cars are ready, like in the places, but there's not enough people to get them, to load them. They'll come into the factory plant where they build them, they'll put them onto rail cars, and then when they go to the next yard, they don't have people to unload them and put them on the next train or whatever. So the one guy, Mike Herbert, who I'm dealing with up there, the salesman, he's like, you might have to wait to January. I was like, I'm not in a rush. I'm just, just put me on the list.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy, but you could see it. I mean, their inventory usually spills out.
He has not one new car at Sawyer Motors.
It's unbelievable.
He's got a ton of used ones, and he's still selling those. But he's just like, he's like, you're on a list of about 35 people, man. He goes, just, tell me the color. He goes, here, he showed me the list of 19 cars that are coming in. And there was one of them there that was in the range that we were looking at, in the right color and all that. And I was like, oh, that's great. It was a Grand Cherokee similar to yours. And I was like, sweet. He goes, don't get excited yet because it's got to be a while. I said, all right. I said, that's fine. I said, I'm not ready to do it now anyway, but I was just like, just put me on there. So he's been such
you hear these stories with just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And not having enough resources, a lot of these companies, for delivering product.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they said more or less that, Jeep, Chevy, whatever, the American Eagle or whatever the company is that he deals with, because it's not like Ford or Chrysler. I don't know, but that's Jeep, Eagle, and whatever Bob is. He says some of the cars are ready, but there's just no one there to move them. So, like the guy Mike that I've been talking to, he's like, yeah, it says it's in transit, but that doesn't mean that it's in transit. He goes, it could be
just
stuck in a rail yard somewhere in Tennessee, and it still has, the train just eventually makes its way here, and then when it gets to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where it gets unloaded, then it still has to get on a tractor trailer, when they put the cars on a truck, and then driven up to Saugerties.
Yeah.
So, You're talking about 5 different places that it has to go. He's like, it could be Christmas time before you get that thing. So.
And I don't know if you've noticed it, but the truck traffic on the thruway has increased. It's noticeable.
It is.
At least to me, it is.
A lot of it.
And then you go by these rest areas, and you'll see where the trucks are spilled out onto the thruway, where they've pulled over
where they're resting, right?
Yeah,
where they
can
used
only
to just
drive so many hours,
right? Like at New Baltimore or Ramapo or wherever, they'll have truck areas designated for them. They're completely full.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're out. Yeah, he's right. I noticed that.
There's really something amiss. And I read an article this morning before we came in. There's the ports in California. The ships that are in port can't get unloaded efficiently, so there's ships that are waiting, just idling out at sea, waiting to unload in the port next.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw this. It was about 3 weeks ago.
Crazy,
They
though,
said
right?
the toys,
Who would
they said
ever
the
have thought?
toys this year for children, because there's such a high demand, Elmo, just whatever toys, that they're not getting from China and over other places here fast enough that the toys are going to be like triple in price. So like say Tickle Me Elmo, I'm just using him hypothetically, cost $200 last year. He could be more like $500 this year. Just because there's not going to be a lot of that's the demand for it is still very, very high, and there's not a lot of stuff there. All right, why don't we go to break?
Yep, we'll go for a break. We'll be back in a few, listeners.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Swimming pools are great for family fun, and Central Hudson wants you to play it safe. Never operate an electric appliance next to or in the pool. Be sure pool motors and filters are grounded. Have them installed by a professional and serviced by a licensed professional electrician. Be very careful if there are electric lines above or near a pool, especially if using long-handled cleaning tools. And if a storm is nearby, get out of the water. Your safety matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org. Produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us this first half hour. and you could hear the noise in the background. That is.
We're talking about plant-based foods.
Yes.
How
Better for you.
How important. We could probably do an entire show on the dynamics that occur in a household where there's a born and raised carnivore and a plant-based person. So, quite the challenge for the dietary needs.
I'm just trying to keep you alive.
Oh, I know.
So for those listeners who do not recognize that voice there, that's on the third Wednesday of every month, it's Jid Tinti.
Good morning.
Police Chief from the city of Kingston. And Elisa?
Close. Elisa.
That's
okay.
Get
fine.
I just have
the show now.
I just have a hard time with that name, Elisa. If I say it 10 times, you think it would just sink into my brain?
That's okay.
City Clerk from the city of Kingston and Town Supervisor Fred Costello.
Good morning.
Sorganies. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We would love to hear from you. First, before you start stealing the mic, congrats. You obviously did a good job. The cameras got approved. The tank.
The tank. Tinti's tank. Yeah, and it wasn't just me. I got to tell you, it was a huge effort, both from the community side, from the elected officials, many of them who had one view at the beginning of it. I will say that there was a lot of misinformation out there. I will own part of what happened, and I have to, and I've said this to others, and I came into that finance meeting completely unprepared for what was waiting for us. I thought this was a ground ball. We weren't going to spend more than 10 minutes on it. Zero financial impact, a replacement of a current vehicle, just upgrading our fleet. We're done. And to see what was going on in City Hall at the time with the protests and the signs and everything else, which I know we'll get to, but it set me back. And in fairness, I kind of went in with a big chuckle and a smile on my face, just kind of laughing. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is me. And then to completely just be taken back by the whole thing, I had words with some of the aldermen later on that week about stuff. And because it's a difficult position, I try to understand where they are, right? Community understanding, community needs, community beliefs. But at the end of the day, when someone calls the cops and we don't have the tools to do our job, why call us in the first place? Call a firefighter, right? If we're not going to carry guns, if we're not going to use a level of controlled force to compel people that the government gives us, the authority given to us, allows us to compel people physically to do things. When the judge says, bring that person in front of me, there's a warrant for their arrest. And we go there and we say, put your hands behind their back. And they go, no. We are allowed to physically hold them, punch them, tase them if necessary, to bring them in front of the judge. So at the end of the day, after all the talking I did with them offline, the only thing that I felt, and especially with the community support that was there, the only thing I felt I had left was to show them the men and women of the emergency services team that was going to use that tank. And I know people have said it's not a tank. We know it's not a tank. Then stop calling it a tank, because there's no offensive capability. She's caught the brunt of it. I'd come home ranting and raving about this thing, and I'm like, and I used the analogy, if it was, honestly, it's just got half-inch plate armor on it. If this was a crime scene van, there would have been zero discussion. But because of the implications that it'll be used incorrectly, I've had this thing for 10 years, this older version of it, this Peacekeeper, for 10 years. We didn't roll it out when there was a protest in Kingston. The protesters, the activists, the so-called people of the people of the people, didn't even know we had it. Ridiculous. So I'm at the point, and you've heard me, I'm at the point in my career and in my life where I've had enough. I've had enough. My filter is starting to break down. I apologize, Mayor, that I'm trying to hold it back sometimes, but ridiculousness, I just can't tolerate it anymore. When people say completely ridiculous things, because at the end of the day, there were activists in that crowd that night that called the police. Their families relied on the cops. One of them, their son's life was saved by two of those emergency services members when he got shot. 2 of them. They responded, quick clot and tourniquet, and saved his life. Don't tell me you don't need the cops. You tell us you want a different level of response for mental health calls, I'm 100% behind you. I agree. Our cops shouldn't be doing that. We get to the scene, and we're bringing it all back up again, but we get to a scene where a person's in the middle of Broadway screaming and shouting at the sun. We have no mechanism but to just remove the person. We don't know what's going on, whether it's a mental health issue, drug dependency. We don't know. All we know is this guy's blocking traffic, right? So we should be able to just say, come with us, and hand them over to someone else that has the wherewithal, the training, the understanding, the schooling to do it. We don't have that. We get 14 hours of awareness training. It's not enough. So unless they're going to reinvent police, then don't talk about reinventing policing. It's just not going to work. So that's my spiel on it. I know you want to talk about something different, City Hall.
Mike, we had Mike Oliveri on last week.
He was there,
and he gave us a pretty good rundown, including some of the rude, disrespectful vocals that were in the room. But you know, he said almost exactly what you said, not word for word, with the fact that so many people did not realize you had one, and it was sitting behind police headquarters. And the reason they didn't know is because you didn't roll it out to the protests that you had. You didn't roll it out to this. But again, and the cameras were also approved.
Actually, that was a no-brainer. The issue with cameras, you know, is
we've had tremendous
the constitutional issues, the privacy issues, people concerned about Big Brother watching. Big Brother's watching every place. You come in here, they're watching. You drive, you're watching. You go through a toll booth, they're watching. She's watching on her cameras, on me. She's got everything. Aren't you? So, it's funny because, you know, I would like to consider us as a family well-connected. Communication, electronic means. I mean, if you can't text, you can email, you can call. And then we just incorporated last year not only essentially a property-wide surveillance system on our property, because you know, I'm a security nut, but on top of that, even internally in the house, and because we are tenant to your father, who's almost 90 years old, we now have installed Alexa not almost, but every room in the house. So no matter where he is, we can track his every movement. And he's a great guy, born, raised in Kingston, traveled the world, and unfortunately now to his age, he's getting along.
Well, he has pretty severe dementia.
So we just got to track
my ability to drop in is what Alexa called, and talk to him and make sure he's okay when suddenly everything's quiet, or if I can't see him on the camera. It's been very, very good for us and for him.
So, you know, I know that's our private system. We control it. We view it. I get all that. But at the end of the day, I can't tell you how many times, you know, recently we had an investigation that if it was not for a camera to catch the individual, we wouldn't have caught him. There's just no way. There was no intelligence, no witnesses, nothing. No physical evidence. We were able to just get the lead from a camera that was around the corner. And we said, hold on a second. We may have. And today with our Crime Analysis Center in Orange County and our crime analysts, amazing what they're doing. Absolutely amazing. When I tell you they're looking at clothing, they're like white hooded sweatshirt, right? They run their stuff and they're like, oh, this guy, that guy, let's track it. Where's he from? What? Oh, now we pare it down and they got 2 suspects. Amazing, like absolutely amazing. But this is what they do, you know. So we'll never get to the point of like Minority Report. We're predicting it certainly, but I got to tell you, it is truly amazing to see John Reichert, who's the director of the Albany Crime Analysis Center, is talking about the first in the state to go almost to real time. So as soon as a crime happens, his analysts are immediately on it. He's so well connected in that 4-county area that should Troy or Schenectady have an incident, they are able to get right into the records management system. They have investigators assigned to the CAC, and they're able to work the cases with the on the ground detectives. And
so the officers on the ground would have real-time data about an LPR reading or a camera?
Right. Yeah, they'll say in the last 5 minutes we've had these 4 vehicles pass these locations. So not to mention the fact that social media is out there, right? People post all sorts of stuff, right? Whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it might be. And they are being routinely watched. You know, the public views of this are being watched. So there is a wealth of information. And I know facial recognition software is tabooed in some places and people think but at the end of the day, activists for cops, activists against cops. We all want to live in a safe community. That's what it comes down to. And there's only one way to do that. Put the bad guys, no filter, put the bad guys away. If they cannot abide by our social norms, what's accepted by us, if they're not stopping at the stop sign, and I'm not going to that extreme, but then they shouldn't be part of what we're doing. Stop at the stop sign. Again, minor infraction. I wouldn't lock anybody up for it. But clearly, if someone is shooting a gun in broad daylight, like what just happened in Poughkeepsie, they have no right to be out in public. And I'm not talking about restorative justice. I'm not part of the prosecution end of things. If you do good, you get rewarded. And if you do bad, you get punished. There's simple rules. That's the way they raise kids today. Did you take the cookie? Yeah. Don't take the cookie. That's it. That's it. So that's the way my kids were raised. Did they take the cookies? Yes. Did they get smacked? There's that balance. They're like, boy, that cookie was really good.
Unless it was your mother. Oh, you want the cookie? Take the cookie.
Yeah. When they went to my mother's house, that was a tough one.
That's still a
I say, give them the cookie. I give them the cookie.
Okay, you want more
all
cookies?
All right, Mom. All right. All right, 150th anniversary.
Yes.
For the city?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's a big event then.
Yep. Next May 29th will be 150 years that the city of Kingston became the city of Kingston, when the villages of Roundout, Kingston, and the hamlet of Wilbur merged to create the city of Kingston on May 29th. So we are already planning a very large celebration. So looking forward to that.
What kind of celebration? Like party balloons, cake? What are you
No,
doing?
well, we have, so we've already, there's a committee of myself and Taylor Brook, who's the Kingston historian, Paul O'Neill, few more people. Nina Pashapek is going to be joining us at our next meeting, and we're planning citywide celebration for not only that day, but for the whole summer, actually. We have a tremendous amount of history, and we have a lot of unbelievable documents and relics, and you have
Well, she
stuff.
pointed at me when she said relic.
You have some interesting things that we're going to put on display
Yeah,
from the police
yeah.
department. And
So it's funny because I myself am not much of a historian. To me, they're not antiques. It's just the way it is. I apologize for those that may be slightly offended by it, but I'm like, oh, look, it's old. Throw it out, right? Oh, a corded tool, right? When we talk about work tools, I'm a construction guy, and it's got a cord. Garbage, right? I do everything cordless now. It's just the way it is. Not that I throw it away, but so when she talks about the history, she lights up about it, right? This city clerk position has been tremendously rewarding. I'm speaking for you. Feel free to grab the mic, but you really, the change in your energy over being chosen for the city clerk's position.
I love it.
Right?
I absolutely love my
history.
job.
She'll come home with these.
So grateful.
She'll
to the
say at the
mayor.
dinner table, "Fun facts, kids. Fun fact." And then she'll start to spew something, and I'm like, "But that happened in the early 1900s." Yeah. What about the mayonnaise? Is this vegan mayonnaise? Like that's more important right now. So, but
I love it too, though, because it's fun.
Yeah, it's
I had a fairly decent understanding of Sargey's history, but as supervisor, you learn all this new stuff all the time, and it's just you can't stop going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
You
I
kinda
went to
get
this
more and more.
meeting, and it was just I couldn't get enough information. It was just I came home and was trying to made everybody listen to me.
She did too.
I forced
She wouldn't
everyone to
serve
be
dinner.
quiet.
She wouldn't serve dinner
Let me
until
tell
she
you
got-
what
Let
happened.
me tell you, Old Dutch Church. This is what happened, right?
Yeah.
And she went through everything, and she stood up, and she was like drawing stuff on the wall. And
Not quite.
presentation, and I'm like, okay, that's good.
But it's
yeah.
it's really I love it. I love it, and I'm very excited to be a part of it.
So what were the three hamlets? It was Wilbur, Rondout,
And the village of Kingston.
and the village of
Yeah.
Kingston. Okay. Do we know how the town of Kingston ended up being town of Kingston?
I don't, but I can find out for you.
Find out about that.
And I'll report
Next
back.
month, that's our show. We're already good to go.
I'll report back to you.
That was always curious to me, and there has to be a
Tune
story
in
to
for
that.
next month's show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, she's.
Yeah, so we're going to be in City Hall. The mayor, again, he's wonderful, and he humors me and lets me do some things. So I asked him if we could do some displays in our lobby now that we're back open to the public, and he said, sure, absolutely, and then directed me to some places where we have stuff stored that I didn't even know existed, and so my office is planning to do monthly displays showing the history of Kingston. So one will be the police department, and 1 month will be the fire department, and
Cool.
some other
Very
things
cool.
that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, you should be. We did the quadricentennial, what was that, 12 years ago already for Sorgeties? But it was just this fun event. We had a gala event, and then we had all this celebration of history all through the whole year. And each one of those was unique, and it was kind of neat to have this overseeing perspective, because
Yeah.
you tie all these little pieces together, and you're like, oh my God, really wild. And even like a road going someplace that wasn't there, or a bridge, when they finally put the bridge across the Esopus, it changed everything.
Yeah.
That was, it kind of cemented those communities together in a way that before it was over there and over here. And then once that bridge was there, they were joined permanently. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, it is. Yep, very exciting.
And then I had to go down the rabbit hole farther, because before the Red Bridge was on 9W, you would go through a neighborhood, Berkeley Heights, and down through a cornfield, and there's rocks where the wagon wheels before the dam, the creek ran very low. And there's wagon wheels that wore into the bluestone and limestone rock, and that's where everybody would cross because it was shallow there. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was just so curious
Yeah.
to kind of do it. And really fun to find that stuff. And it's pretty neat to see it, because had I not been pointed there and I walked past it, I'd have been like maybe curious about it, but I wouldn't really taking the time to understand what it was. But going back on the mission to find it, I was like, oh my God, there it is. It's
Yeah.
kind of neat to
Very
look at.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, there's like I said, I'm not much of a history buff, right? That stuff interests me. I'm like, we have that property out in Marbletown, and when they were putting in the solar field in the back, they had people come in, archaeologists, I guess it was, and looking for all this stuff. And there's a foundation back there, a house foundation, right next to the old O&W rail tracks, and I guess it's being referred to as the Caleb House. And it's just a foundation now. All the rocks have fallen in, and I'm like, all right, well, we should probably clean this up, grab the excavator, clean. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Touch that.
You can't do
Can't
that.
touch
It's on the actual survey map. And I'm like, it's just a bunch of rocks.
Well,
She's
our
like,
driveway was a road.
Yeah, so it turns out that our driveway used to cross the O&W, connect to Hindley Road, which connects to Lucas Avenue. And it used to be the path that
was a
people would take
thoroughfare.
in between Hurley and High Falls. That was the only crossover. And in fact, the guy that had the property before us, Frank Brooks, said, as a young man, he used to remember people taking their Jeeps and four-wheelers through there.
Connecting through there.
So we're like, wow, yeah. So we were wondering why our property survey map shows us owning property on the other side of the rail trail. And so we looked at it, and we still have a right-of-way to get to Hindley Road. I guess that's how you pronounce it, off of Lucas. So, Hindley Road is a small road. Ours is a driveway now, but amazing, right? Amazing how that I'm like, oh, okay, well, what are we doing with the foundation? She's like, you're leaving it. I'm like, okay.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's it's certainly something. I mean, for us, it's
You're reforming him gradually. He's interested. He's trying not to be.
yeah. I'm like this. Boy, that's really cool. Is that real mayonnaise?
Yeah.
That's how that usually works. But yeah, when she comes home from these meetings, I mean, there's no denying that the premier historian, I mean, as much as Taylor's doing a great job with it, was Ed Ford.
Oh,
right?
Ed Ford was, yeah.
That absolutely amazing, the knowledge this guy had, like he was here when it happened type of knowledge, right? So, and the volumes and volumes of information he must have had in his head was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
So we had the detective lieutenant just retired, Terry Crozier. He retired, is now doing something else. And after many, many years with us, he and Cliff Tremper, the lieutenant who's running patrol for us right now in the day shift, are essentially the department historians that we have. So Terry took it upon himself to scan every page of the 6 volumes of binders that we have for the minutes of the meetings of the police commission since the police department was formed.
You didn't tell me this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I do the month of the police department, I know I'm not going through you. I should contact Terry and Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff certainly. Yeah.
He'll be telling you what happened last week.
Yeah, I don't know. You're going to give him vegan mayonnaise too?
I don't know. You just you've had this information,
in my
didn't
office,
share
they
it.
were passed down chief to chief. So there's a big group, and Terry came in one day and he said, hey, "Would you mind if I, scan them?" I go, "No, that's no problem." So we're talking about the original first page where the pen and the quill and ink is that hit it like you can barely read it. Right? It's all cursive, obviously, but he scanned every page of those minutes, and you could see through time how it went from that style writing to pen and then to typewriter and ultimately now everything's computerized and now video, right? So now we have all the video recordings, but yeah, we have all that information, and Cliff actually took it upon himself. I think he has, I don't want to misspeak, but almost for every member of that department that's ever served, even if it was a short-term capacity, because we've hired people that have started in January and left our department in March, right? They just were there for 2 months and got a position with state police, FBI, whatever it might be. And so I believe he has a picture of every officer that has ever served that city of Kingston. I'm pretty sure. Wow. I think it'd be rare if we didn't. But Cliff is definitely. Cliff and Terry were definitely department historians.
So we have very similar, like you said, from the beginning, not just the minutes, but so we have all the vital statistics for the city of Kingston. So some of our, we start our birth certificates to the early 1800s, and a lot of people are into genealogy now, so they want to have, their ancestors' birth records or death certificates, and the same thing. You could see the difference in the handwriting. And sometimes, even though I can, of course, read cursive, and of course the next generation really can't, which is going to be a problem because they no longer teach cursive writing in school. I don't know how they're going to read records. I have a hard time reading when we're trying to make a transcript for somebody. Sometimes there's several of us going, what letter is that? What do you think that is? Let's try, and we spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out the writing of some of the early certificates.
That's definitely a lost art.
It is.
You don't say that just because it's beautiful to look at. Those folks took time. Their letters are all the same size.
Gorgeous.
The tops of all the lowercase letters meet.
Dipping it every other letter, right?
It's just incredible, though.
And what else is really interesting that we've seen is going way back to marriage license. They used to list occupations, and the women, of course, didn't have an occupation, so it was just homemaker always, unless there was something had happened. It's just very interesting to see the evolution of how we kept our records and what they are today.
It's a snapshot of the culture of the day.
Yep, you can definitely see a shift in how women's lives were recorded and documented, and sometimes negatively if they had something in their past. It's there, and it's too bad.
Scarlet letter for it.
Yes. Yeah.
I know. I don't cry. I've heard the story. You told me. You come home all teary-eyed.
Yeah, there was one. It was like her occupation was Lady of the Night. We're like, what? This poor thing. They wrote that down. It's not bad enough. Yeah.
That's your mom, kid.
Right, Lady of the Night. Ooh.
But yeah, there's certainly around. I mean, that's the one thing for us. I see the Hudson Valley. I mean, we are definitely history rich, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. From the first settlers type of thing all the way up here, it's amazing, and I really should take a better role in it, a more interested role. She hears it all the time. I'm just a forward thinker. My father just built me to continually just keep moving forward, right? And so when she's like, "Oh, did you hear what happened 2 days ago?" I'm like, "That was 2 days ago. Like, what's happening right now? What's going to happen in the next 5 minutes? You know what's going to happen? I'm going to start the machine. We're going to start moving dirt. We're going to get the dog, So
it's going to be fun, though, because Kingston played such a pivotal role in the Revolutionary War. We were the first capital in New York State. I mean, we have a rich history in Swargries, too, but this is going to be fun, and it's way deeper than just Kingston. It has...
Well, on top of that,
regional
right,
and
historical society.
Yes,
right?
yep,
Like
and
New York State
yeah. People are coming from the state, and it's going to be quite a celebration. We're just in the beginning of trying to organize it all, so it won't be just that day. Although that day, City Hall itself will be open, and we're going to have a lot of displays.
Senate, right, the Senate
but the
House,
Senate House, there's going to be a lot going on, really the whole summer. So
awesome.
very
That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yep.
See, look, see, big smile on her face. I'm going to hear about the whole, police commission meeting as soon as we leave here. But
the Senate House is something that gets under-recognized, too. Once in a while, we run into people like, what do you want to do? I'm like, go to the Senate House. It's a half a day, but you're going to leave with these amazing pictures and memories, and even if you just take a picture of the Vanderlyn painting, you're going to be excited to have gone. It's really cool. Yep. And Uptown was loaded with opportunities like that, so it's really fun.
Four Corners, oldest Four Corners.
I know, I
in the
need to take
country.
that for granted, too. Yeah, we really do, because that used to be where the studio was. And I remember especially coming in early, kind of in spring when it starts to daylight a little bit, you get that twilight and a little bit of snow. You're like, wow, this is pretty nice here,
Beautiful.
yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. Really
So
cool.
the next thing at City Hall is what? What did you? You're not allowing signs anymore.
That's correct. I didn't know where you're going with that.
We're probably going to cross over into the next half hour.
Okay.
But,
Signs.
Signs, yeah. So
Where does that fit into the history celebration?
Listen, I'm a guy who just absolutely loves free speech, right? I'll defend free speech. And
Well, there is a very distinct line between the free speech and open meetings law. They're very separate.
Determination, Clerk.
Not me. That would come from NICOM.
Oh.
So yeah, we can have
So
a
what
long.
does that
So
mean?
we're talking. He's going back to that terrible meeting, the Common Council meeting, and the
I'm
finance
going back
meeting that led to it.
Many meetings
Yes,
where the
yes.
disruption, disorder, disrespect, right? People taking the microphone or speaking up. It's okay for them to do it, and I say them, the activists against the cops and social order to some degree. It's okay, but it's not okay when the police officers express themselves, right? So when I get up there to speak, I remain professional, but I get booed, I get the finger at me, I get all this stuff, and so I had a discussion with the Common Council president and frankly the chair of finance at the time after that meeting, and I said, I will no longer be part of it. Either
Well,
they leave.
let's back up a minute because
You
I
wanna
don't.
back up?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we do.
Okay.
I'll tell you what we do.
There's a history theme today, so we can't just move
Yeah.
forward.
That's right.
Let's take a break. We'll be back in a few,
Okay.
and then we'll continue.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Central Hudson reminds you that summer thunderstorms can strike with strong, gusty winds, knocking down trees and power lines. If you see a downed power line, call 911 immediately to report it. Power lines can carry an electric current strong enough to cause injury or death. Stay at least 30 feet away from a fallen line. Don't try to move it or anything that has come in contact with it. And never drive over a power line. Remember, your safety matters.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, Supervisor of the Town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Rondout Savings Bank has a long history of serving local communities and maintaining a strong tradition of customer service excellence while providing each customer with the personal attention they deserve. Rondout Savings' approach to community banking puts you and the growth of your business in the front of everything they do. They're a different kind of bank and would like to tell you why, so please reach out to one of their expert business bankers for an appointment and let them show you what they can do for you. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and the community with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park. Also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
The old Snyder Farm.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, listeners and viewers who have been with us. Those just joining us, 331-9255 is our call-in number. We have Kingston City Police Chief Jed Tinti with us, and we have the city clerk with us, Elisa. Congratulations, I got it right.
You've been waiting to say that. Don't have yet.
And Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Sorgetes. And yes, birthdays.
Okay. Elisa?
Let's get this one. Happy birthday. All right.
All right, Elisa, you can start us.
Okay. So happy birthday to Susan Curran from your friends at People Place. They hope you enjoy your special day. I do have another one. And also happy birthday to Mark Adil from your friends at the Town of Ulster Senior Club.
Nice. And happy birthday to Dawn Marks from your friends and family.
And I have a happy birthday to Sean Jermel from your friends and family and all those who count on you for maintenance. So
This was fantastic. Last week we had none. This week we have four. And the winner of today's famous cow pie is Susan Curran. Susan, congratulations. Happy birthday. When you get the opportunity, get down to Boy's Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, right here in Kingston, New York. Pick up that famous cow pie, which is courtesy of Boy's Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And please, listeners and viewers, continue to send in those birthdays. The more, the merrier. Very easy to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com, or you may postal mail to Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. So once again, Susan Curran, congratulations. Happy birthday. Have an awesome day.
All right, and I believe we have a caller.
We do.
Good morning, caller. You're on air with KCR.
Good morning, Elisa and gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning, George. How you doing?
Hey, good. Two things. First, Fred, I want to thank you for stopping by last week and helping us with our raffle that we was doing at Adams last Wednesday. It was greatly appreciated. We had a terrific day there. And I'll be
more than welcome.
I'll be at
Was it
Adams
successful?
Again, but this would be for the Ulster County American Legion.
Oh, you're doing it again?
Well, this could be for our post. This could be for the county.
Okay,
County
cool.
holding its raffle and stuff. They're going to be drawing that in January when the state commander of the Legion comes down for his yearly visit to the county. So we're collecting for that one too. So like I said, I got a few hats that I wear and stuff. So, but I do appreciate you stopping by and everything else. And like I said, we had a terrific day there last week. So hopefully we can continue it this week. And on the other thing is, Chief, I'm glad to hear you got your cameras and you got your vehicle.
Thank you.
I'm all for that because, hey, people are not thinking properly. That is for defensive purposes, to get somebody who may be been shot or get civilians out of there without them getting hurt or without the officers getting hurt. So I'm very glad you got that, and I do not agree with the other side at all. It is not a military vehicle that you're going to use to intimidate people. But then again, too, those people that was on that front lawn on July the 14th should have been ticketed and stuff for littering because they left the signs and they blew all over Broadway.
We're about to talk about that. Coming up.
And a lot of them are outside agitators that want to come in and cause trouble. I don't believe the biggest number of them are from Kingston itself. And you guys, your officers are doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate and respect your officers. Every time I drive by one as I'm driving through Kingston, because I'm on the good side of the creek, I give them a thumbs up for the job that they do to let them know that, hey, we appreciate them and we respect them. So
Thank you very much. It really does. We really do appreciate that. I mean, public support is a big component of having the officers do what they do. Obviously, we're not in it for the money, right? That's not the driving force. We really are trying to do the right thing. So thank you.
Right, and hey, if you're not breaking law or breaking the rules, those cameras should not affect you one bit at all. They're there for safety purposes and help solve crimes from the people who are breaking the law. What we need is more common sense and less idiots out there that just want to stir up trouble. Our police up here, especially in Ulster County, all of them, the troopers, the sheriffs, your officers, and the other towns' officers, especially Saugerties and stuff, are just out there doing the job, trying to keep us safe.
Amen.
So
Thank you.
Thank all of them for the jobs that they do every day during the year. And you people have a great day, and I'll keep listening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you, George.
Good luck today.
So before the break, she said, let's go back. All right, historian,
Okay.
let's go back.
So we had an event at our finance meeting, which led into the common council meeting, which you have referred to, where they voted to get the vehicle. So before I say what happened, I want to make it clear, I'm not criticizing Rennie Scott Childress, who's the chair of finance. We really didn't anticipate the events that were going to happen at finance. So typically, our finance meeting, like all of our meetings, are open to the public. And during COVID, we had the Zoom meetings going, and I was in charge of controlling the Zoom meetings so that government could happen. Now we're back open, and of course, people are allowed to come into City Hall, which they still can do, right? Open meetings law, which I've gotten many lessons on this in the last couple of weeks, because I had to contact NICOM for guidance on.
NICOM?
Yes.
What's that?
You tell me, what is the, it's New York Committee on Mayors, yeah. So at finance, one of the items on the agenda was the vehicle. And like he said, he was, usually the department heads, if you have something on the agenda, you come before the committee and you make your case.
Yeah.
So there was the protest outside, and then they decided to come inside. Again, we weren't prepared for the events that led into that. There was probably 40 to 50 people who came in. They had very large signs with them, pictures, really this beautifully, whoever did it is very talented. They had 5-foot-high heads of the people who were killed around the country from police officers, yes.
By police, during police encounters, yep.
So because we don't have our new setup, we were in the center of the room. The protesters were completely around us, and there was not really any control over the meeting. Typically, they don't allow public speaking at a committee meeting. We set aside time for people to speak. They can sign up in advance or sign up there to speak during the council meeting. They allot 30 minutes normally for that. Rennie did allow them to speak, which in hindsight, something that he really should not have done. Open meetings law gives people the right to come and observe government happening. It does not give them the right to come and speak. So that's one determination that has to be made. If people are given the right to speak, which is something the council can allow them to do, which they do at the council meeting, then the council is responsible to control that meeting, meaning that if there is a speaker speaking, it is their right to speak. So it is not someone else's right to interrupt them, right? And it's also, they don't have the right to attend a public meeting and have something that would not allow the people around them to view the meeting that's happening. So a sign, these 5-foot-high signs, would obstruct the view of other people. So they should not be brought in. And there's a distinction between rules of the building and rules of the council. So the rules of the building, it's a government building, and of course there's no weapons allowed in a government building, and that's not something that we should have to tell people, but it's clearly something we do have to tell people. And really, what is a weapon? Is something that could be used, right, to hurt another person. Is a 2x4 a weapon? Well, it could be a weapon, right? So we have to make distinction over what's allowed in the building and then what's allowed to happen at council. So the president of the council has to control what happens at council. But the rules of the building are that you can't bring in anything that could be used for destruction of any kind. So, of course, no weapons, no sticks, no signs. We shouldn't have to tell people that you can't ride a skateboard into City Hall, but apparently we do have to tell people you can't ride a skateboard into City Hall, right? I mean, you would think that people have common sense over what can happen in a government building, but not necessarily.
Outside.
Right. You can't bring in musical instruments and play them during a meeting. And these are obviously now things that we now know we have to not allow to come into the building. So there are differences there. So leading into going from the finance meeting where Rennie, who's the chair, Rennie Scott Childress, he's the alderman in the 3rd ward, he allowed people to speak, and he had told them, well, I'm going to give you 30 minutes. And at the end of 30 minutes, he said, okay, I'm going to allow one more speaker. And they said, no, we have more speakers. We have 4 more. And when he said, no, we're not, I told you 30 minutes, their response was, well, then we're taking over the meeting. And the place erupted. So it became a situation that was uncomfortable for everybody who was there. So leading into council, now we knew what to expect. So, you learn from your past. So it's funny, we actually had both taken off the day of the council meeting, but we were both going into the council meeting, and I ended up on the phone the entire day between the mayor, NICOM, Andrea Schott, the president of the council, Corporation Council, back on the phone with NICOM. At one point, the mayor said to me on the phone, so this really isn't a vacation day, right? I said, no, this really isn't a vacation day. and the same thing with you. We really, we took off trying to get things done at the farm for our weddings, and was not a vacation day. So we now have more clear guidelines as to what's allowed in the building and what's allowed at council. There you go.
So, at this meeting, again, I fully admit that I was not prepared for, I've been around activism, protests, I get it, right? But I came in there and they were chanting and screaming and surrounding the table and intimidating, right? They were intimidating, not to me, but certainly to...
And I'm going to interrupt you, but when he appeared in the doorway, there were people pointing at him and yelling, murderer. So, again, when I tell you the meeting was out of control, it was out of control. And he wasn't even speaking at that point. There were other department heads who were trying to state their case, so it was a complete disruption of a government meeting, which is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, what we did, I'm sitting there, I got the Deputy Chief Mike Bonds with me and Officer RCL. We're talking about going in to talk about the armored vehicle and then cameras. And at one point I get there, and I have a big smile on my face going, what is going on? Look at this circus. This is a circus that's going on here. There's no control. And at one point, some guy points through the crowd and, you're a murderer! Screams at me. And I go, you don't even know how to pronounce my first name. You don't know anything about me. I said, how dare you say that to me? And again, I started to ramp up. And so when I got to the table, it is what it is, not my meeting. It's not my meeting. My meeting, I've asked people to leave my building. When they disrespect me or my department in my building, the meeting's over. I don't have to tolerate any of that. So I sat down to speak, and then there's all this chanting, clapping, snapping, drum beating stuff. And
again, I'm going to defend Rennie for a minute because, there's a very fine line between somebody's right to speak and who has the right to speak, and nobody at that table was prepared for what was about to happen. No one knew that this was, he didn't have clear guidelines, and I think that he felt that he wasn't quite sure of how to handle the situation. So Go ahead. I mean, so it really, to say, he should have done more.
I didn't say that.
No, I know you didn't say. I know there are people, I'm not saying you, but I know there are people who were there and people who watched it on live stream who felt, he should have done something different. And, in the moment, he wasn't prepared, right? And you don't know what to do because you're afraid to infringe on someone else's rights, whomever that is.
But So also though, it's a tricky balance because as much as you want to give the public the opportunity to express themselves, if there's a dialogue to be had, you have to facilitate the dialogue. And if people have a concern, they're welcome to express it. But if there's another side to that argument, that has to be given the window just as well. And it's a difficult
and they are given that opportunity at council. This was not the time or the place for it, and that's why we've never allowed public speaking. Public speaking doesn't happen during a committee meeting. It's allowed at council. So they really should have been advised to come to council and not allowed for that to happen. But again, we didn't anticipate it. And since then, we did have a finance meeting where protesters were outside and came because of the hiring of 3 new police officers, which is on the agenda for next month's council meeting. And they came in during finance and wanted to speak, and we're told that committee meetings are not the place. And there was some back and forth because they said, well, it just happened. Why can't I speak now? Right. And again, it shouldn't have happened. So, and they didn't want to.
It used to be $1. Now they're $1.25. That's how it's working. That's it.
So they were unhappy to hear that they would not be allowed to express themselves, but so now we know that it's coming. So we are better prepared. We know what to expect, and we will have more clear guidelines for the building and for council.
So I will say this, right? And I believe in free speech. I believe in constitutional rights. I am 100% for it. In fact, not only do I say I believe in it, I prove it. So that when there's a protest in Kingston, our officers make sure that they block traffic, allow the protest to go. As long as it's peaceful, I got no issue. Really, I have no issues with any of it. We are there. Even if the protest is about defunding the cops. They still need us to block traffic, right? So this meeting goes on. I'm watching it. Just got called a murderer. My deputy chief's being called a liar. And completely disrespectful without having any idea of who we are, right? A murderer. They don't know anything about me. Never raised a hand. So this meeting unfolds, and I keep getting interrupted. Snapping of the fingers, the clapping, the hooting and hollering, the trombone, whatever's going on. I leave that meeting, and I am beside myself at that point. So at the meeting, I spoke to Rennie Scott Childress. Rennie's excellent. He's a gentleman. He's a scholar. I have a good dialogue with him. I made clear to him I will no longer compete for public speaking time. I am there to get what I need from the council as far as approval for equipment, funds, whatever it might be. In the future, should a situation like this occur again, I will leave or they will leave. I will not compete for it again. I'm done.
And you shouldn't have to.
I will not. I just
no one should have to.
First of all, I've been doing it for too long. Almost 30 years as a cop. I've been through most of this, right? I'm not talking like I've been exposed to bad stuff. New York City, I can't even imagine being NYPD, right? That stuff they got to deal with. But we have done nothing but serve this community. And still, as I pointed out before, really allowed any protest, peaceful in nature, to continue. First time they pick up a rock or a brick, it's a different story. As long as they maintain peaceful, we're okay. If they come to a meeting like they did the other day and sit in the audience and just take it all in, even if they hate me as a person, they don't like the way I look, that's fine. You get to voice your opinion out there, not in here. So then I had a discussion after that with Andrea, Common Council President Shaw. Again, made my position very clear. I will not allow myself or any of my officers to be subjected to that level of disrespect at a meeting when we're here at the request of finance, common, whatever it might be. I'm done. Had a talk with the mayor. He said, I understand, and that's just the way we're moving forward. I will not have it. So after all the phone calls, the city clerk decides we're putting signs up. Well, signs get put up on City Hall.
We got guidance from the state on what should and shouldn't be allowed.
Go back and forth, and they said, here's the wording, here's this. So that night, I said I'm going to have a couple of officers there with a supervisor. I show up, and because again, we're talking about a meeting, and I show up there, and the protesters get to the door, and they're coming in, right? They got the signs, they got the band's instruments.
And again, beautiful signs. Whoever did this artwork is really very, very talented.
Very expressive, right? And I'm okay with it. You want signs to say defund the police, time's up Tinti, Egidio's got to go, all that catchy stuff, good. Not in the building, right? So, and we go back to Hal Turner rally in 2005. There was a lot of constitutional issues that came to light. And at the time, Don Williams, who was the DA, him and I met, we worked out some stuff, and he said, listen, people have the right to protest. You can carry signs out in public. But as far as putting them on a stick, because what was happening, and we got our information from Ohio, is they were taking hockey sticks, cutting the ends off, posting them, and now they've got a hardened weapon that they can rip the sign off now and use against people, right? Unacceptable. Because, again, the intent was not to be peaceful. They want to chant and carry on, I'm okay with it. Make the change. Elect different people. You don't like this position? Get someone in that office that's going to change that position for you. But to disrupt the meetings, especially when we're trying to do our job, I won't do it anymore. I won't. And I won't allow any officer to ever be exposed to that again.
And again, it wasn't just the police. There were other departments. I know you understand. There are other department heads who were there who had to talk to the committee, and they were not able to do so. I mean, it was a very uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's unacceptable. So the signs go up, and at one point, I hear the officers, Pat Bono, Lieutenant Pat Bono was there, and he started having a back and forth, and I'm standing outside with someone, actually kind of bebopping to the music as they were playing it. It's true. I was kind of enjoying myself at that point because I'm like, look at this. This is ridiculous. So I saw he was taking this. I'm not going to allow him to take the brunt of it. I walk up there, and Pat and I stand at the door, and there was right away, right, Facebook Live, and are you telling me you're not letting us in the building? No, you're not letting us in. I said, you're not coming in the building with the signs, right? I was okay. I'm like, listen, you're going to arrest us. No. We're coming in. No, you're not. You're not coming in, and you're not getting arrested.
You can come in,
you're
but not with
coming in the building with that sign.
But you have to leave them outside.
So
they have to leave the musical instruments outside. You got to leave your skateboards outside. This is a government building, and these are certain things not allowed in.
If you don't want to abide by the rules, don't come in.
Just listening to what you said this morning, listening to what Mike Oliveri said last week, I'm surprised they listened to you and just didn't storm into the building.
They weren't coming in that building. There was no way they were coming in that building. We already had a plan. So trust me, we're good, right? The police department in the city of Kingston is prepared. We're not getting overrun. And I understand the position of the activists. They have their beliefs as strong as they are. Some of it is that they have to disrupt the normal behavior in order to get the attention they need to their cause. I get all that. Not on my watch. They're not going to do it on my watch. I will stand alongside them blocking traffic. As the chief of police, I'll block the intersection so they can get through with the sign that says Tinti's got to go. I'm okay with that. But they cannot break the law. They cannot break the rules. If they want the rules changed, elect someone different. That's it. As George mentioned on the phone, there's simple rules, right? You can't do that. You can't pick up a bottle and throw it at a cop because he's wearing a uniform and think it's okay. It's not okay. Someone is going to answer for it. So I don't want to be that way. I really don't. I'm really a nice guy, aren't I?
Most times.
Most of the time, I'm a nice guy.
But I like you most of the time.
But at the end of the day, the truth is, it was good to see that there was a firm, that we were instructed, these are the rules, right? And they should have been the rules all along. We just didn't know, right? And
we
honestly,
weren't prepared, but now we
very
are.
Inclusive, right? Even at the commission meetings, if someone wants to speak, or we're good with that, right? I give my phone number out. Call me. We can talk about things. Your position and my position may differ because my experience, my upbringing, my culture, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, we still want the same thing. What they're asking for is a safe community. What we're asking for is a safe community. But the mechanism to accomplish that is through the police. Because at the end of the day, as I pointed out to the council during my 3-minute speech, is they're not coming in. At 2 o'clock in the morning, when it's hitting the fan, they're not coming in. The cops are.
We got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Hi, good morning, Chief Elisa and Lawrence. Robert Baum, Commercial Real Estate, calling in. I had a suggestion here. It might be a little off the wall, but in these meetings where you have difficulty with the outcome, how about establishing a second room for people who want to speak? You already have Zoom capability there. Separate the attendees from the board meeting by camera, and when the 30 minutes expires, turn off the cameras.
I think they're working on a hybrid system to some degree. I think so.
We have the hybrid system, which is hopefully going to be in place within the next month. It's something that the council approved of 2 months ago, so that we could continue to allow the public to be home and watch. They could via Zoom, and for people to be present at the same time. Council chambers is it's a very large room. It's beautiful. If you haven't been there in the top floor of City Hall, we're allowed to have, other than the council members, we actually just had the fire department come in and confirm the capacity size. And I believe it's 209 people are allowed to be present in that building, in that floor while a meeting is happening. So again, it's a very fine line on having people there because of open meetings law. They're allowed to be present to view, to observe what's happening. And for us to, when we went to the Zoom meetings, that was, of course, an executive order by the governor. That's not something that they could just decide to do. We have to be present, physically present, and allow the public in.
Okay. Well, of course, I am familiar with the meeting room, and I understand what you're saying to me. But the thought is that these people can still be present in the building, but just to have a separation, I think that should be explored. Anyway, I don't want to take over the meeting, so thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you for your call. Have an awesome day.
No, it's difficult, right, to conduct business when there is disruption from the group, and that's part of what they're looking for, is the disruption. It's not just an expression of their opinion. They can express themselves through written word, through their elected officials, send emails, show up during public speaking, during common council. But they're there to disrupt. What accomplishments are they doing there, right? It doesn't. Like I said, you want to call a cop a pig during a protest? Call a cop a pig. But if you throw a bottle at a cop while he's helping you with your march, things are going to be different. You can't do that. That's not expression of free speech. So it bothers me because I know what the police officers go through every day. I understand their struggles. It has been a rough 2 years. Some of the changes are necessary in policing. We recognize that. A lot of the re-envisioning task force recommendations have not yet been implemented, although they're minor. In my opinion, they're minor compared to other jurisdictions that really have to. It's a larger undertaking. The accountability, the transparency, the police department, the body cameras, the policies, the civilian oversight. We have all that. So it's small tweaks here and there. But at the end of the day, what happened to George Floyd was an absolute tragedy. And the officer that conducted his behavior that way should be punished. But that didn't happen in Kingston. Do not judge the Kingston Police Department by events that are occurring in Podunk, Minnesota, in Texas, in California, wherever it might be. Don't do that. And yet they point a finger at me and call me a murderer.
Well, that's with every incident that occurred. And unfortunately, there were too many of them over the past year and a half. You can't paint the same picture in the city of Kingston that you had out in Minnesota, you have in New York City, you have in Los Angeles.
That is exactly...
You're not comparing apples to apples. It's a grape to a pumpkin.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened, though. That brush, that wasn't painted with a brush and delicate. This is what happens across the country, and there's a perception that police departments are behaving that way, and the mechanisms aren't there. And I think something that came out of the Reform Commission's process was evidence and an acknowledgement that policing is different here, and it has happened different here, and we should be proud of that. And it certainly doesn't mean we're done. There's always room to improve.
Always.
But
absolutely, always.
I think the local community, the police departments here in Ulster County and the Hudson Valley and the state as partners in the county departments in Ulster and Dutchess, we withstood that scrutiny fairly well.
Yes, we did. Absolutely.
And that's something we should all not say, hey, good for us, we're done, but no, say, wow, we're on the wheel. Let's keep up with it and move forward and police in a way that the communities hope to be policed. And restoring the relationships between the police departments and the communities we're trying to serve. I know KPD has been a big part of that. We've tried to do that. having those boots on the ground matters. Yes. When you can go down the street and that, you're not just an officer, you're Chief Tinti, and I know that makes an incredible difference whether I like you or not. Right. Whether I like you or not. If I can identify you and there's that face, or Lieutenant Bono or many of the other officers, that matters. Yes. So, I think
that's the difficult part of it right now. Unlike some of the other jurisdictions, larger jurisdictions are responsible for larger areas, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about the town of Saugerties or the town of Olive. I'm talking about even the sheriff's office has its work cut out for them to try to get his deputies, Figueroa's deputies, out there. The state police, right? Because they're responsible for such a large area. But when it comes to community policing, the value of having an officer step out of the vehicle and walk a block, 2 blocks, a business area, whatever it might be, is huge. Even if there's no personal connection, hey, that's Officer Egidio Tinti, just the fact that the officer is part of the community makes a big thing. So, and
I think in the context,
we're answering calls where the mayor during his approach to finance the other day said, we need more cops to get out there, right? We really are community police minded. We just don't have the staffing to do it. That's the difficult part. So it's difficult, but we're moving in that
I know,
direction.
but
You're 100% right.
Yeah,
you're right.
And I think the sheriff's office and the state, their success relies on the community police departments creating those relationships and having that bond with the community is trying to represent. When the sheriff's department comes to stories and helps, there's already a foundational basis. And I talk to officer so and so. That matters in an incredible way. It's
and
tough.
The fact that Sheriff Figueroa is out there, right? He's in the community. He's making all the meetings.
Yep.
People know they can reach out and say, I need to speak to the sheriff. And he'll answer the phone, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big commitment on his part and his staff, right? They're all professional. The level of training in New York State is high. The requirement to complete that training is high.
As it should be.
As it should be, absolutely. So when Cuomo said, here's EO 203, I think part of that was there should have been a clear understanding that all the police are not the same, right? And that was never really clear. So a lot of the cops are like, we haven't done anything wrong, right? What's going on here, right? So I embraced it when the mayor said, listen, we're setting up the task force as per the EO 203. I'm like, this is going to be great. Like, I know what we do. I know where we've come from. Accredited agency, we have training standards, all of it. We're good. So, but you can't say that with every agency in every state, right? I can certainly say in the Hudson Valley, in the state of New York, because of the criteria to be a police officer, but there are differences, right? There's some jurisdictions that require a high school diploma, like us, and there's other jurisdictions that require 60 college credits. So there are differences in that. And I think that's something, and in Kingston, again, small city PD chief, that needs to be standardized across the board. A cop in Buffalo should have the same level of training as a cop in the town of Olive. It should be the same. And I know there's talk about a 2-year program, starting off with 2 semesters of criminal justice and criminology, and then moving on, and then finally the last 6 months is the actual police academy. But I have a business degree when I became a cop. I went to the 5-month academy back then, and they showed me how to deal with people and stuff like. But it's really on the ground that you learn stuff, and the exposure, right? The number of domestic violence calls we get in the city of Kingston, I can clearly, without actually calling Chief Ryan, say there's more in Kingston than there is in the town of Olive, right? That's just the way it is, right?
Yeah,
So the officers that work there on a regular basis don't have the same level of interaction that we do in Kingston, right? We're handling 3 to 4 DV calls, IPV calls a shift. It's unfortunate, and we're dealing with it the best we can with some of the changes with the focus deterrence, but it is definitely an undertaking. And so again, challenges, right? So when we go back to the freedom of speech issues, we're 100% behind it. No cop in Kingston I can actually will ever say I'm not working the protest. If that's their assignment, they're there to protect the individuals carrying the signs, get rid of KPD, defund KPD. We're there. We are there, right? We may not agree with it, don't like it, but we're there.
But again, going back to the meeting, people are blurring the line between the open meetings law and freedom of speech. They are not the same thing. So that was one of the issues that was happening at the committee meeting and then at the council meeting. Yes, you have the right to speak if you're given that opportunity in a meeting. Just because we're having a committee meeting where it's open to the public does not give you the right to come and speak at that meeting. You have the right to come and observe government happening. Well, I have spoken to NICOM. Many hours on the phone getting that distinction.
So we keep going? I see the clock. Are we keep
Orange is letting us run, man. He's giving us leash today.
I was waiting for you to finish. I didn't want to interrupt you, and I was
here till 9:30 then.
I'll tell you what. Let's, in fairness to our sponsors, you want to go for a quick break, and then Bill McKenna was going to call in, and Bill may have some questions of it
Sure.
if you want to.
Let's do that.
Want to hang around, or if he got busy, let's do that.
Okay, we'll go to break.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
The town of Ulster Clerk has that.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us for up until now. And those just joining us, I had to turn that volume down. I was getting terrible feedback, and I got distracted. But in the studio here, Elisa Tinti, City of Kingston Clerk.
Well done.
Chief Jid Tinti, Police Chief, City of Kingston. Fred Costello, Supervisor from the town of Sorgeties. And we're going to have another one joining us right here virtually, Bill McKenna, Woodstock Supervisor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
We've had quite an enlightening morning here.
I've been listening. Good job. I'm glad to see that Woodstock is not the only community with rowdy meetings once in a while.
So yeah, I've been reading about what's going on up there, Bill. Yep.
I'm trying to fly under the radar for the moment, that's for sure. So, Chief, I do have to agree with you. Woodstock felt the same way when we had the issue come up and had to go through the governor's decree. We felt we had a great police department up here, and that doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement here, Kingston, or Sorgeties. But we're very lucky in each community to have wonderful policing.
Yes, yeah. No, your department's squared away. Your chief is doing a great job, as most are. Honestly, I mean, we all work together. We're part of the Chiefs Association. There's interaction both at the county level, the Hudson Valley level. So we know what's required of our of police. What's different is certainly the needs of Woodstock, the needs of Saugerties, the needs of Kingston vary. So the officers have to kind of change, right? Our focus may be less on the community interaction piece because of the call volume we have, but it's still needed, right? People still call my office and say, boy, it was nice to see the officer walk the beat. Right? I haven't seen that in a while.
Absolutely.
And that's great, right? But we want to get officers on bikes. It's a good kind of go-between between the patrol car and the walking post. It gives them the ability to get back to the car, answer calls, and
I would love to be on a bike all day.
all day. Yeah, but she wouldn't be answering calls. She'd be just racing
yeah,
up and
no,
down the road.
I could deliver birth certificates to somebody's house on my bike.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. I mean, in every community,
courier.
there's walking posts, there's rail trails, and we enjoy that. I love walking posts. I got in trouble a couple of times for getting out of the car and walking, because we had designated areas, walking outside those areas, and just trying to do the right thing. And so we encourage the officers to do it. Unfortunately, as part of the supervisor's daily report, they put down where they walked and who they walked. And some cops are essentially, they kind of what's called, they buy the block, right? So what they do is they focus on 2 or 3 blocks every day and just keep walking it so they get to know the neighborhood. And then once they feel they've met everybody, or at least people see them, then they move to a different block, And so there's some value in that. It's just the call volume. It's difficult. Plus, you still have requests for traffic posts, right? They're flying down my block, chief, flying 65 miles an hour. So we put the speed sign out, not a vehicle over 29. It just, but people are convinced that they're flying down there, or where's a cop when you need one, or so.
We have the same issue up here. A couple of years ago, we went out and bought, we started with one of those traffic radar signs, and we ended up buying 2 more.
Yeah.
And almost every time that we put them out, we'll leave them out for a week, and then we get the report back, and you'll have 4 or 5 out of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 vehicles that are actually speeding.
Yes.
And it's well worth it, because you can give that information and say, okay, look, here's the reality of it.
Yeah, you're right. Even like stop signs, right? I dare say, and we just increased the number of stop signs, took stoplights down to put in more stop signs, and they're effective means. But the fact is that it's a lot of enforcement. Think about how many intersections are in the city of Kingston, how many stop signs at every intersection, and that we have on a day shift 4 to 5 cops out there answering calls, doing traffic posts, community policing efforts, all of this, right? Paperwork. A domestic violence call involving intimate partner violence, thank you, is a 2-hour call,
right,
with
exactly.
the paperwork and the follow-up, and there's a lot, right? Because from the district attorney's perspective, they need everything, right? And then on top of that, discovery law changes have just completely, when I tell you my department is overwhelmed with discovery, and all we've got to do is collect it, but it's not just the report, it's the body cam footage for every officer at the scene. It's any evidence that you've collected. It's the recordings for the phone calls. It's if you have a suspect in custody, anytime they pass in front of a camera, you've got to have that.
And then we're going to throw in when an incident will happen, and then they'll foil the body cam image or the dash cam image. And now, in addition to what you got to do with discovery, now I have to have IT taken away from that, because they have to fulfill this foil in the time slot that's allowed by law. So they got to find the body cam image, and then it gets sent to Corporation Counsel, because they have to review it, because if there's like a child in the background or somebody in the background who should, right, they have to watch the entire video to see if something has to be redacted, and if so, then it goes back to IT, and they have to then take care of that, and then it goes back to Corporation Counsel to review again before it comes to me, and I have people screaming, "Where's my image? Where's my image? Where's my image?"
Exactly.
So it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you're delivering all this on your bicycle.
That's right. That's right. I'll be in great shape.
I'm going to talk to my town clerk, Jackie Early, about that bicycle. I think she'll like that idea.
I would love it.
But I'm going to tell her it was your idea.
Okay.
She wants one of those tricycles with the baskets in the front and the back.
I'm going to need it. Got to carry my stuff.
Delivery. She can just toss them right in the front of the lawn. So, yeah, she comes up with some ideas sometimes.
I'm sure you have observed this too. I see the code enforcement, the building department, becoming very operationally similar to what the police department suffers. They write a ticket because I have 2 junk cars in my yard. Well, now I'm mad and I foil all my neighbors and how many times they were issued tickets because I wanted to know. Yeah. So a lot of times we're trying to do a property maintenance law to alleviate some of this, but we rely on the court to help us execute. So they document the infraction and they make the case about it, but it becomes very similar to presenting a police ticket, and then you go before a judge. Well, if I'm a bad landlord and I have not had a carting service pick up the trash because I'm mad at my tenants, going to court 3 or 4 months from now doesn't help the neighbor's cause whatsoever, and it's really the wrong mechanism to correct that. And we have a bunch of situations where neighbors are just not behaving well, and their behavior is impacting their immediate neighbors or the ones surrounding them, and we're kind of left without a meaningful option to correct it. It's a little bit problematic.
It's
I know
very
you have
frustrating,
something.
Fred.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in court for over a year now on some fella came. I think he came from Saugerties actually, and
You're welcome.
brought some fill in, and it's all this foiling and discovery and evidence. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. When I open up a foil and I look at the address, sometimes I go like, oh, Town of Ulster. Yes.
My problem.
Not Kingston.
Well, how many did you do last year? 400?
Oh, well over 400. Just shy of 500 foils in 2020.
So when we get them, we had one, without mentioning the case, it was a case, old case, closed case, but it was 3 boxes of...
If it's the one I'm thinking, it was
Yeah.
more than 3.
Yeah, so-
3, it was actually 4 or 5 boxes.
Okay.
And so at that point, do we make copies? And every report has to be reviewed, right? Social security numbers, suspect information, witness statement. And at one point, does it all get turned over for viewing? And I think in your case, once Corporation Counsel looked at it, the individual came in and went through the paperwork.
Well, it was unreasonable for us to scan. So what we did was this person came in and was given 1 box at a time in my office.
You have to have it supervised.
Yes, he had to, and he couldn't bring in his backpack because he's not allowed to take any documents, and so he had to be I had to allow him certain times during the day when I would be in my office, and he could come in, and he was allowed to use his phone to photograph documents, but he couldn't. It was just a massive amount of information.
The other part, Bill, and hopefully you don't suffer the same fate. You go through this legal process and you get a win. So, you leave there kind of like, okay, it's civil, but we did it, we got it, and then there's a $2,000 fine. And you're like, what?
Right.
Like, we just spent
$5,000 legal bill.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, that doesn't seem just at all.
No.
Yeah, I hear you.
No, it's difficult. I mean, listen, we're all in government. It's difficult because there's, out of 23,000 residents, we're dealing with 1,000 troublemakers. All right, I know it's not politically correct, bad guy troublemakers, but it's about 1,000 that we're dealing with regularly, right? That I just think about the individuals who have never needed, and I say needed, but they're always there for us, but never needed police services, fire services, right? But they still, a large portion of their taxes goes to that, right? In the city of Kingston, I know the budget cycle is starting back up. We're meeting with the mayor and John Toohey, the controller. But, the largest piece of the pie expense-wise in the city of Kingston is public safety and specifically the police department.
That's true in most communities.
Right, in most communities, right? Because people, and you've heard me spit and sputter about it before, nobody cares about the snow getting plowed off their street if bullets are riddling their house, right?
Right.
They will care about the snow as soon as it's a safe community, because then it's the potholes and the trucks making too much noise and your plow driver pushed it into my corner and didn't put enough salt down, right? I can't even imagine, right? I'm just worried about this little slice. But so those are the things that we got to deal with. But on top of that, on top of the FOIL request and the discovery, there's staffing, right? There's staffing issues. Because now if you assign someone to discovery, which we're trying to do, I am asking for, I could easily justify 2. I would be happy with 1 person dedicated just for discovery collection in our department, right? Dave Clegg, the DA for Ulster County, just passed it at the county level, said, listen, I need a unit for discovery. It's just too much, right? So just think about that the DA himself has said, and the county legislature recognizes, Yeah, this is a huge undertaking. But these are unfunded mandates that are coming out of Albany.
Exactly.
There's nothing. It's not like we want discovery. Oh, and every jurisdiction is going to get $100,000 for a position. They don't do that.
And we still
that's
want
not
to stay
happening.
under the 2% cap.
Yeah. 'Cause I know.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right.
Yeah.
There's another good point. 2% cap on it. Right. So,
That covers the healthcare increase.
Yeah.
And then everything else you have to figure out on your own.
but you know, and
The discovery thing's a real thing, and
It is a big
it's a huge. It's the foundation to every case you're going to bring, and you don't know if it's going to get settled or if it's going to go to trial. But if it's going to go to trial, you have better done your discovery correctly. So you're taking one of your best officers out of the loop, so to speak, and you're dedicating them to making sure that paperwork is correct and usable if it goes to court. There's some sacrifice that goes along with that.
absolutely. Well, just even the discovery we're talking about most of the time, criminal trials, criminal prosecution and defense, but on the FOIL side, if the FOIL's not answered in,
So I have 5 days to acknowledge that a FOIL was received, and then I send it to the departments, and they have 20 business days.
and if they don't,
And then I have to, well, I could be subject to being sued for
Right,
it.
so there's a fine, right?
Right,
I
I
mean,
have
there's
to
a penalty if-
request additional time, but it has to be for a reason. It can't be, well,
Say,
well,
I didn't get to it yet.
Right. And a lot of, like, this time of year, it's tough because we have so many people are on vacation, and there's only one person who handles that. Well, now I gotta contact the person who requested the information, and, they're not always happy, but there's nothing I can do about it. If they're not here, they're not here.
we have a small staff of clerks, Alyssa Rockefeller and Natalia and Isabel, and let me tell you, it's overwhelming, right? Accident reports.
Yeah, a lot of
There's
accident
one, right?
reports.
A lot of accident reports come through, like, I had an accident, and we got copies, or the insurance company. We try to automate a lot of this. I've got a pretty good standing order. I don't want people coming down to my headquarters for paperwork. Email, fax, we'll mail it. Contact us, we'll send it in the mail. So COVID, as a matter of business, we just didn't have that happening. But most recently, they came to me and said, hey, listen, a couple of people in the lobby looking for reports. I said, okay. Call downstairs, tell them you can get the address and you're going to mail it. Well, I could just go down and give it to them. No, you're not. I do not want that, right? So it's old school, right? It's community policing. I can't tie up my staff for the additional time it takes for that. Tell us what you want. We actually went so far as to put electronic traffic accident report system in place, right? The Carfax and so on that we use. So they can get on there and pay it. It's a $7 search fee, but they can get it electronically now. That helps us with staffing. There's departments in New York State that have now, for very minor offenses, allowed the public to document their own call for service. Because when people say, I just want a blotter notation, that's what we call it, a blotter notation where my neighbor left his trash over the property line. I'm not going to send a cop out there. Take a picture of it. And so a lot of jurisdictions, the larger ones, are just saying you can report your own call. They go online, they enter it, somebody reviews it at the end of the day, usually a midnight shift supervisor reviews it, and then and allows it to be entered into the system as documentation. But the police don't actually respond anymore. It's just a blotter notation. So, and on top of that, as you mentioned, the building code violations. A lot of times, depending on where they go, they want the cops with them.
Yeah, we're
Right? Because
running into that
in
more
some
and more.
cases, there are hostile neighbor encounters, right? So,
Absolutely.
And again, just ridiculous, right? I remember early on in my tenure as chief, I took a phone call from an individual, and two neighbors were fighting over 3 inches of grass. I want to put in perspective, 3
Can you
inches
imagine?
of grass. Each had their own surveyor. There continued to be an overlap. And they were like fighting. Like it almost came to fisticuffs. One put a camera up, the other one put a camera up. 3 inches of grass. I said to both of them, you're being children. You're children.
That's exactly what they're being.
You're acting like children. It was unbelievable. And like you said, neighbors not being neighborly, right? In the past, you'd knock on the door and say, listen, bro, I understand what's going on. Can you do me a favor? Don't do that, right? That's it, right? Usually.
Yeah.
I understand that's not always the case, right? There's always the knuckleheads out there, but...
And we do actually get a lot of foils like that as well. People will foil. I know that there's a lot of police activity. They'll foil what happened in the house next door. They'll foil building reports. They want to know how many times the building department's been next door because they're a nuisance and they're like that leaving the garbage out. So we get a lot of that as well as in the
And
shape of
realtors.
foil.
Obviously, the other thing, because of the
Oh,
large
yeah.
real estate
Yep.
change in market,
That's
they'll either
nonstop.
go through her office or
Mhm.
my office, and Alyssa's been good about the clerk part of it. People will call and say, hey, listen, I'm looking to buy a house on such and such a street. What can you tell me about it? My instruction to her is, you don't give your personal opinion about any neighborhood in Kingston. That's not the rule. If they want to see the calls that we've handled, that's on them. That's okay. So people will say, one lady said, I'm coming up on such and such I'm coming up Saturday at 9 o'clock to meet with the realtor. There's 6 bids on this house. Can you tell me, is it a good neighborhood? And I said, I can't tell you if it's
All
good.
my neighborhoods are good.
Right, that's what I say. So listen, however, if you're looking for the call volume, we've had no calls for service on that street. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Right,
That's
but we
all
get
I
Okay, so while we're down here to our last couple of minutes here, because I'd asked Bill, anything you want to throw in?
Well, just along the lines, one of the things we're doing up here in Woodstock is we've really just doubled down on our scanning of documents and keeping everything electronically, because at that point you can go back. If somebody wants to see building records for a property, you go in, you type in the SBL, and you can email them a trove of stuff without having to copy a single piece of paper. So it's taking us a while to get there, and I imagine a city like Kingston or even Saugerties, you guys are so much bigger, that would be an enormous undertaking, but it's a little bit more manageable for us.
Yeah, that's actually, in my office, that's one thing that we've been doing since I started there as clerk, is scanning in all of our records as far as right now I have every local law scanned in, and it's on our website organized so people can see by year what local law passed. So every local law that has passed in Kingston is on there. And we have every resolution for the past almost 12 years are now it's been scanned in and organized so that you could look at the monthly list and see what you're looking for and then go right to that resolution. So it like you said, it's very timely, but it's wonderful because a lot of times I'll get foiled that, like what happened on this resolution. I can just say it's posted on the website and direct them to the website. So that is a wonderful, wonderful tool.
We are just about out of time.
Thank you.
Well, we'll have to do it again.
There wasn't a lot of yelling either.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill, thanks for joining us virtually. Bill McKenna, Woodstock Supervisor. Kingston City Police Chief Jid Tinti, thank you. Elisa Tinti, City Clerk, thank you for joining. And boy, I tell you, you two must carry a lot of weight because we delayed going to break. We delayed our sponsors.
I think if we went on another half hour, they'd still have stuff to
You've
talk
been on
about.
a 90-minute roll. I mean, you made Sinagra look like a mouse. What can I
Way to motivate Joe.
Oh, look what you did.
He can't miss a chance to crap on
Supervisor
Joe. That's
Fred Costello, Town of Saugerties, thank you. Lawrence, thank you. And most importantly, listeners and viewers, thank you. We'll be right back here next Wednesday.